The Speed of History, My Nanna's Story. 26th of May, 1894. A girl was born in a pub in Brewarrina, on the edge of the Outback, New South Wales. May Barwon Colless, beside the river that gave her her middle name. She was the second of 11. Almost every year her family grew. No invisible or visible waves to transmit voices and vision. No celluloid or digital systems to cross time and space. No power travelling through wires to light the night. No metal chassis on vegan tree gum driven by hundreds of horsepower. No compressed ancient death stretched and pulled in every imaginable shape or used as fuel for civilization's demise. The telegraph was a new high-tech achievement, gradually integrating into her life. Telephones and railway were exciting developments on the horizon. Art was pretty representations threatened by chemistry exposed to light. During her first decade, she played in her white cotton dress with her family's native servants' kids, though they couldn't go to school with her when she reached 5. Her parents made a living from the steamboat crews and passengers. Wool and wheat travelling to Adelaide on paddle boats brought all kinds of adventurers in return. The telegraph and the Cobham stagecoaches made it feel bigger and more cosmopolitan than its isolation suggests. Her mum sought to protect her from the traveller's sins. Newspapers from Sydney, Adelaide and Melbourne let her family know that half a world away the first gasoline bus route was started, as Rudolf Diesel patented the first diesel engine, both in Germany. Oscar Wilde had been arrested in London for gross indecency. His books, poetry and plays were reviewed in magazines. The Lumiere brothers projected the first movie onto a screen in Paris. The words made sense but had no meaning for the girl. Motor races were spreading the fashion to replace horses with internal combustion. One 93-kilometre race was won by a 4-seater Daimler that averaged a speed of 15.5 kilometres or 10 miles an hour and was headline news with fabulous newfangled photographs to illustrate it. The European powers, the USA and Japan, shamelessly used war to conquer weakened countries, to make colonies and heroes for her and her brothers. X-rays and a raft of radiation were discovered. Marconi invented the first radio. Even her parents didn't understand the stories. In 1899, the small town of Young switched on incandescent street lighting, then connected shops, offices and homes, all to the first alternating current. At the kitchen table, the family tried to understand how such magic was possible. Our boys went to South Africa to fight the Dutch Boer. Excited young men from town took their horses onto the paddle boat for Melbourne to become heroes. The 6-year-old girl was worried by the snippets she picked up from the customers arguing and worrying about whether they should go. The Spanish-American War resulted in the Philippines as a prize. Australia became a pretend independent nation and was tricked into giving women the vote, thanks South Australia, but ignored the existence of our First Nations as a dying race and built walls against an imagined downpour of a yellow peril, suggested by a map of a wave being surfed by poor little Oz, like we were still in Europe surrounded by enemies. Parades through the town celebrated with decorative carriages and coaches. Fireworks lit up her face with awe. Queen Victoria died. Everyone, even her, wore black armbands and had to be sad and silent. The Wright brothers turned from bicycles to flying machines. Mr. Ford started selling industrial, mass-produced horseless carriages as she turned 10, though it would be years before she found out. In her next decade, the story of Ned Kelly was made in Australia. It was the longest movie made to that point anywhere in the world, at about an hour. The travelling carnival that came to town a couple of times a year had 2 tents to show the moving pictures. One for everyone, including kids. One only for the men, and the women went tisk, tisk. Cubism, futurism and abstraction were invented. How Einstein became news outside of physics. A distant strangeness a teacher from the city tried to explain in school. Japan beat Russia in a war, resulting in Lenin's first attempt at revolution. The Titanic sank. At 19, she travelled to Sydney for work, selling umbrellas and gloves, and as guardian weighed down by a couple of her siblings. She met James Steele Rees, my future grandfather. Love. A month after May's 20th birthday, an archduke was shot in the outback of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, bringing the cyclone of delusion that was the war to end all wars. Fear, obligation, excitement, confusion, rebellion were in the news. Why should we fight for England? No one attacked us. We are a different country. It's not our problem. But she's the mother country. The government tried to force people to go with national service. Her future husband sailed into the storm to prove Australia was worthy of playing with the big boys. He was injured twice and went back. He survived when 40 million didn't. 30 years later, he would die from a dam in his veins that travelled to his heart or brain, the result of those injuries, leaving the girl to raise her two youngest, 12 and 8. May Barwon and her beloved had lost two children, one at birth and the only boy, Billy. My twin, she said, struck by lightning at 13, hiding under a tree from a real storm with a friend. Ironically, near a place called Lightning Ridge. Nature's dumb hand reminding us of its power. In 1920, at 26, she married. She became a Rees, entering an exciting, unrecognisable world. Still recovering from the flu that killed more than the war. The war still raged as the Russian Revolution sought to transform the country from medieval to modern against the will of the West. Cars were everywhere. You could pay a shilling for a flight in a flying machine, or go to theatre and watch movies. Listen to music on invisible waves of light from Marconi's marvellous machine. The couple did their part to rebuild the population. Betty, Billy, a stillborn girl, Judy and Mary, my mother. Born in 1936, as the world recovered from the Great Depression and just as the lunch break between the wars was ending. Billy's death left May grieving profoundly. A doctor advised her husband, as happened in those days, to have a consolation baby, my mum, a child to fill the deep hole May Barwon felt in Billy's absence, and placing an unconscious weight on Mary. Her beloved Jim died in 1944, just after her 50th birthday, when the second half of the Great War was nearly exhausted. Nanna had 6 weeks with her beloved as the dam in his veins moved slowly through his body. She learnt the business he'd run for 20 years. She became better at business than he ever was, and ran it for 20 more, reaching the middle classes. With her two youngest in boarding school, she was smart, funny, and kept up with the news, until she joined her beloved in 1989 at 95. TV was everywhere: cars, telephones, movies, and the nuclear bomb. The World Wide Web and the fall of the Russian experiment were on the horizon, all defining part of the new century's capitalist civilization. 15 years later, at a party, a First Nations elder mate introduces me to her friend from Brewarrina. She had May Barwon's mother's maiden name, Shira, and tells me about the pub May Barwon was born in as her family's. We decide we might be cousins. She uses the same words as Nanna to tell me the story of the bushranger who held it up 150 years before. Shame has clouded history, so that the truth is a mystery unsolved.